Yeah.
A game evangelist's responsibilities are to support Macintosh game developers to help them create the best titles possible for the Macintosh platform. That's from a marketing and a technical perspective. So in terms of working with Apple, we try to get developers the latest technology, things like QuickDraw 3D, QuickTime VR, technologies, PowerPCs, new PowerPCs as they come along, so that they can optimize their titles to take advantage of that. Because when a user goes to buy a Macintosh game, they want a game that really feels like it came with the Macintosh and uses the latest stuff, so it's the coolest game possible. So from a technology perspective, it's my job to make sure developers have that. From a marketing perspective, it's my job to sort of plug developers into Apple and make sure that they have access to our marketing groups, and try to get onto Performa bundles and be at all of our announcements and our press events and in our Performa advertising and our infomercials everywhere, because developers really enjoy doing that. There's another side to my job, I guess. So there's the side where Apple talks and works with the developers, and then there's the other side of my job, which is how developers need to be able to work inside of Apple to make change happen. So, for instance, when the QuickTime team was working on 2.0, they really wanted to make game developers really needed things to make sound move forward on the Macintosh, and we actually went out with the QuickTime team to developers like Broderbund and some other companies and actually sat down with them and said, what do you need for sound? How do we move the standard forward so that you can write a better game? And they gave us a lot of feedback, and part of that feedback became what is now QuickTime 2.0 MIDI. So there's a feedback loop that says we want double buffering, and we want QuickTime MIDI, we want MIDI, and we want faster this, or we need this, so that our games can be better. And it's my job to feed that information back from the developers, or at least be the liaison to do that.
Good year.
I really do. I mean, if you look at, I became the Macintosh Game Evangelist about a year ago, so I've gotten to see it from what I was handed as I took over the mantle versus what I see today, and I think there is a big transition. If you look at it from a sales perspective, sales are way up. More Macintosh games are being sold. That, in turn, it's like a funnel, or it's a vacuum. It pulls more developers in. Development cycles with game developers are typically 6 to 12 month cycles. So even if a developer says, gosh, the Mac game market is exploding, I want to be there, the day they commit to do it, it's still 6 to 12 months away. So what you're going to see over the next 6 or 7 months, which is before the Christmas season, is all the developers that Apple has worked with and developers that said, hey, I want to work on the Mac. Any of the new ones are people who chose almost a year ago. So looking into the future, I know with the developers I'm working with, a lot of the new people who are coming into the space. I mean, last year we saw companies like, I think Lucas almost reinvented themselves. Rebel Assault really inspired them to do some new work, and Access Software, and with Origin's arrival coming right now, we have Doom coming within the next couple of months. A lot of these larger companies are starting to come into play, and you're going to see more and more titles. I mean, a company like Lucas, I think, is really excited by the Macintosh. I think Rebel Assault did really well. I thought it was a pretty good title. And now you're going to see even more stuff, more exciting stuff from them. So I think it's like a groundswell. It's starting to build up, and I'm really excited by it. And it's been great because I get to work with all the new developers and bring them online, and it's a lot of fun to do that. And so I think Christmas '95 is going to be pretty nice. Our goal, as an evangelist, there are over 100 and something companies working on games for the Macintosh, and there are a lot of peripheral edutainment titles and things like that. My job as an evangelist is to focus in on a smaller subset of developers and really help them. And we found that one of the best ways to do it is to bring developers one-on-one almost into Apple. I mean, right now we're in a hotel in Austin, Texas, but we literally brought we brought Apple engineers, Motorola engineers, equipment. We created a little virtual Apple here, and the goal is with these kitchens is to bring a selected set of developers in whose product is getting ready to ship or are new to the Macintosh, and just core dump every piece of knowledge possible. And our goal in that is simple. We want the developers to be the best Macintosh programmers they can be, so that the games that come out are the best. And I think that's what the developers get out of it too. I was talking with some of the developers who are here today, who will remain unnamed for their new products, but they came and they made the distance, they flew the distance to come here because in 12 months or in 6 or 8 or 7 months, they're going to ship a title for the Mac for the first time, and they want to do it right. They want to have the latest PowerPC. You know, they want to be optimized for 603 and 604. They want to be, they want it to fly because they want Mac users to love their titles. That's a great change I see now is that game developers who come to the Mac now, they don't come just trying to quickly port a title, really crappy graphics, you know, bad sound, no Mac interface. They want a premier Mac title when they do the port. Our job to help them do that, and we can do that in this sort of setting where we can sit until 3 o'clock in the morning with them looking at blitter loops and anything it takes to do the job. So. If you look at computing today, Apple's goal with Pippin, or why the heck would we create a Pippin or a new platform? There are a lot of people who want to have all the advantages of a computer, but they can't afford the $1,300, $1,500, $2,000 needed to get a computer. But they see Rebel Assault running, and they see great educational titles running on a Macintosh. I mean, Macintosh is a leader in educational software, and in game, it's a growing area. There are a lot of people who want to play traditional PC titles, but they can't afford a personal computer. So if you're asking, I see, that's my personal, what I see from Pippin is a multimedia platform. It runs standard Macintosh titles with little or no modification. I think what it does is it gives access to all this great software, all this great game software that developers are creating to an entirely different group of people. I really look at Pippin worldwide. I think in the US it could be very successful, but I think its chances for success in Japan and even in Europe are even greater just based on demographics and things like that. But I think there are a lot of people who are in the market to have all that great software, but not necessarily the high cost of a computer just because they don't, you know, because of incomes or things like that. I think for developers it's a great opportunity because over time, when you're developing for Macintosh right now, you're just selling to Macintosh owners. Over time, you're going to be selling your software to people who own clones, to Macintoshes, and to Pippins, which is great because developers will have a larger audience to sell to, and they'll be more encouraged to build more great titles for the platform. So that's, I mean, at a very high level, that's what I see Pippin being. It's a great opportunity for developers to go global in terms of software. I mean, 50% of all of Apple's business is outside of the United States. This is something a lot of people don't know. And people overseas love games. I mean, games are huge. I have a lot of friends who contact me from Europe all the time wondering when their titles are going to be localized and stuff. Pippin is another way to move into those markets and move all around and just get more Macintosh or Apple technology in the hands of more people, and that'll hopefully bring more games to the platform. One of the things, I guess one of my major goals is just to let everybody know that Macintosh and gaming are two words that fit together in the same sentence, and in fact make one heck of a sentence. It's got an exclamation point at the end of it. I think there's been a perception in years past, especially back in the 80s when previous Apple executives would position the Macintosh as more of a business machine. It's totally not the case anymore. I mean, we sell tons of performance. 40% of our machines go into the home and go to end people who want to play great games. So if I look at where I want to take it and what I think is undone, I really want to get that message out. I think, for instance, Apple putting the first game ads in place is really important. I want to make a statement. Anyone who's reading a great game magazine, when they see those ads, they know that Apple's supporting them, and Apple is back there every day making sure better games are going to come out for the platform and more games, and they're going to get the best hardware, and they're going to get a really cool game machine in the sense that it's going to play great games along with everything else a Macintosh can do. I think the job of bringing new title developers to the platform is never done. There's always new opportunities, and I think that over time you're going to see a new class of developers moving into the PC space, and I want them to be on the Macintosh. With this brand new 3D hardware and software coming, this new 3D revolution coming, PowerPC is like the core. So people who are buying those machines are going to be able to do some incredible stuff with graphics, and game developers want to build games on top of that. And I think that's going to bring people into the space who have never been here before. You know, playing Virtual Fighter on your Mac that's definitely possible given all the hardware we've got today. So I think you're going to see new developers moving into the space. The other thing I can think of we want to do is we want to make sure that users know about all the games that are available. And that's something that Apple as a company is working on. Apple has a lot of people working in entertainment and indirectly on gaming. I'm often looked at as like, the Game Boy of Apple or Game Evangelist, but there's a large number of people behind it, and I think all of our goal is to really drive gaming forward and let Macintosh users know that that's available. And in fact, we want to become one of the premier platforms. I think we've made tremendous movement forward to becoming a really premier game platform, and a lot of game vendors, game developers wouldn't come to us, wouldn't come to the Mac until we had great hardware, great support. And now I think with companies like, with like an id coming and things like that, they're excited about the platform, and we want to get the word out that they're all on the way. If you look at why game developers come to any platform, there has to be a good business in doing it. It's just like anything else, you got to have good business. It's got to be a compelling platform technology-wise, and I think there's got to be a certain amount of momentum. People know about it. I think all three of those have come into fruition on the Macintosh within the last year. Power Macintosh is an awesome platform to develop for. I think you're going to see some titles later this year that are just going to blow your mind, and they're going to be better than anything you can see on Pentium. I mean, we're going to be there behind those developers helping them do that, and they've got incredible software coming. So I think technically we're there, and game people on the Mac are going to see some great stuff. I think from a business perspective, game developers are seeing that the Macintosh is a great business to be in. They're seeing Mac game people who read Inside Mac Games and things like that going out and buying games in record numbers, and there's more and more of us all the time because Apple's doing so well in consumer sales, and there are more and more Macs all the time. The other thing is I think in id and companies like LucasArts, they're like a wave. They help when companies see that id's on the platform and Access is on the platform and Origin is coming to the platform. They see that there's critical momentum, that this is going to be a great gaming platform, and we want to be there just like everybody else because we want to sell our games into this market and get Mac owners those games as well. So and the other thing I think is really cool is I think the great thing about the Mac market is you still have companies like Graphic Sim and Bungie and companies like that who are, technically way out there on the edge, and they sort of set the bench that everyone else has to chase after. So. It's great to see that they're companies who are creating Mac-only stuff and they're doing really well. And I think they said when people come to the Macintosh for the first time, I always like to say, yeah, you should go take a look at Marathon and F-18 Hornet and some other titles, and that's the target you should be aiming at. You should be trying to jump higher than that because this is what Mac users expect. They want the best, and I think in '95 they're going to get a lot of the best. I think the hardest thing about bringing developer to the Macintosh is the preconceived notions that are there, that the Mac game business isn't a big business. There aren't that many people who want great Mac games, or, oh, I don't think they're going to buy it because, last time we did one, we did it and it didn't sell very well, or, there are a lot of these notions that basically block the developers mentally from making the connection. They know the PowerPC is hot. They know that they can port the game pretty quickly and, in fact, add the Mac functionality. It just comes down to I don't know if we should do it from a business perspective. And it's my job as the evangelist. I basically go in armed with tons of slides and market data and success stories like a Lucas, and I think id's going to be a huge success story, and just say, hey, look, Mac gamers are hungry. They want the best games. They want them now. If you go up on the net, if you go on eWorld, America Online, they're just dying for the best games. And furthermore, the market's more than big enough to support you. You're going to do really well. A lot of other people have. Let's go. The hardest part of it is almost that I'm only one person in it, and I move pretty quickly. The other thing, I think oftentimes it's hard because as the evangelist, I'm working with developers who are going to ship stuff 6 or 8 months out. So I sort of know what's going to happen next, but I can't telecast that. So I can't say, hey, developer Y is on the way to the platform, and everyone gets excited because, of course, those developers want to announce when they're ready to go. So an evangelist job is always half done until the day they ship. I mean, my job is to get them all the way to the day they ship their product, and then, you know, to support them from there. So I think that 95 will bring some new people that people didn't, or new developers that people didn't expect to see, and some titles they didn't expect to see, and that will show in a lot of senses that we've overcome some, you know, gotten to a lot of the developers and told them the story and gotten them to jump on the bandwagon. Actually, if I were to say, so if the question was, what developer would I love to see on the Macintosh next? I think my 2 ones that I would really love to see would be Electronic Arts, to really get behind the Macintosh, because they were an early adopter. They love the Mac. They've created some great games for the Mac. I would love to see some more stuff from them. A lot of their subsidiaries are already doing Mac stuff now, so I think that's coming along. But I would love to see a couple of their neat titles on the platform, like a U.S. Navy Fighters. I'd love to see on the platform because I think it's a great title. So I'm going to be working with EA, and yeah, that would be the big one. Knowing what I know about who I'm working with, an evangelist always targets the large, you know, both large and small. I'm looking for the small game developer who's got the next generation, the next id. Or, you know, when EA was young, the next EA. I'm looking for those companies who are writing Mac stuff, and I'm, you know, if I find the innovator, I'm going to jump behind them and support them. That's what an evangelist does. At the same time, I want to go to the big software vendors who sell a lot of games and say, hey, let's bring everything you got over to the platform. And so I think if you look at the second goal, getting the larger game developers, that's a lot of what I've been doing the last 12 months. Also the European developers. There's some great games being developed in Europe, and I'm going over next month to Europe to be, we're going to do this kitchen concept again in Europe, and we want to bring back some of those great games like Magic Carpet and other games like that. Cool. So.